to the amendments in the name of my noble friend Lady Benjamin Castle. That is 118A, 118B, 119A and 119B. I'll come to another amendment, 120F, in a moment. So the intention of these four amendments is to look how this bill divides responsibility between strategic authorities and local highway authorities, and the risk that that division creates if it's not handled carefully. As the bill is currently drafted, strategic authorities are responsible for drawing up policy through local transport plans, while responsibility for implementing most road-related measures remains with local highway authorities. Now, on the surface, that might sound tidy. In practice, it risks creating confusion and delay. And this concern is informed by last week's judgment from the Court of Appeal, the first time that a court has examined equivalent provisions in Section 151 of the Greater London Authority Act 1999, which governs the duty of London boroughs to implement the Mayor's transport strategy. The distinction between policies and proposals is important here. Local transport plans, like climate plans, contain both. A policy might be to prioritise buses or to reduce speed limits in villages. A proposal is what turns that policy into reality. 5 miles of bus lane delivered each year, or 20 miles an hour limits introduced in 5 villages annually. Personally, I would make it 10 miles an hour through villages, but I understand that people have to get places. Now, under this bill, local authorities are required to implement policies, but only have regard to proposals. We've also seen amendments tabled that would weaken this even further, reducing the duty to having regard only to policies, not even proposals. That stands in sharp contrast to the position in London, where boroughs are under a clear obligation to deliver the proposals in the Mayor's transport strategy. And yet outside London, constituent authorities will actually have a vote on approving local transport plans, something London boroughs don't have. Surely, if authorities help shape and approve the plan, it makes sense that they should also be held to delivering what it contains. If proposals can simply be noted and then ignored, we risk gridlock, not only on our streets, but how decisions get made. Strategic plans will promise change while delivery stalls on the ground. That matters because the pace of delivery now really matters. On climate alone, the Climate Change Committee has recommended a 7% modal shift by 2035. That requires major, sustained investment in buses and active travel across most, if not all, local authorities. Electric vehicle sales are off target. Other sectors are falling behind. Transport remains the largest emitting sector, and it will need to do more, not less. Reducing motor traffic is also essential for public health to cut pollution, much of which now comes from brake and tyre wear, and we need to improve road safety and to enable walking and cycling. There's also a strong economic case. All major parties now support denser towns and cities rather than continued building on greenfield land. Now, that simply won't work without significant modal shift. Without it, congestion will worsen and quality of life will decline. So these amendments ensure coherence between strategy and delivery. They reduce the risk of stalemate, and they give local transport plans the force needed to turn ambition into acting. Now, 120F addresses a very practical problem in the bill, how local transport plans are agreed and how we ensure that they actually stay up to date. As drafted, the bill requires unanimous agreement from all constituent authorities in non-mayoral areas before a local transport plan can be adopted. That may sound like a safeguard, but in reality it risks becoming a recipe for delay and deadlock. If a single authority can block agreement, the danger is that no plan is adopted at all. This amendment takes a different, and I would argue more constructive approach. It removes the requirement for unanimity and instead places a clear duty on local transport authorities to keep their local transport plans under review and to amend them at least every 5 years. That strikes me as a far more sensible way forward. It encourages authorities to get a plan in place, knowing it can be revisited and improved, rather than holding out indefinitely for a level of consensus that may never come. More broadly, we should be asking why there's so little incentive at present for authorities to have an up-to-date local transport plan at all. In planning policy, the incentives are clear. Without an up-to-date local plan, councils risk planning by appeal when it comes to housing development. That creates a strong motivation to keep plans current. There's no equivalent pressure when it comes to transport. The result is that many plans simply drift out of date. Research by the Low Traffic Future Alliance in 2024 found that the majority of authorities do not have a local transport plan that was less than 5 years old. The government itself has recognised the importance of regular review elsewhere. Through the Planning and Infrastructure Bill, ministers have legislated to require national policy statements to be reviewed at least every 5 years. The National Planning Policy Framework imposes similar expectations for local plans. It's hard to see why local transport plans should be treated as an exception. We also know from experience that agreement can take years, even in areas that are meant to be leading the way. The slow progress in agreeing a local transport plan in the West Midlands Combined Authority, a mayoral area and an early adopter of this model, shows that delay is not a hypothetical risk, it's actually already happening. This amendment tries to remove a structural barrier that could otherwise leave areas without any agreed plan at all, while introducing a clear and reasonable expectation that plans will be reviewed and updated regularly. If we want transport policy to keep up pace with changing needs, then we need plans that are actually living documents, not ones that are stuck in limbo or left to gather dust.
Lords,